Greeting interwebs, this is Jackie King, and welcome back for Pokemon Colosseum. If you haven't guessed by the fact we're at Mount Battle, it is time. We have finally earned enough Poke Coupons to get the one and only TM29. Yang will finally have a decent Psychic type move. It's a glorious day, folks. Last time we were at the Realgam Tower, finally getting in, past the jerk who said we were the 1 millionth visitor, and turns out we weren't. And I promise we will go back to Realgam Tower as soon as we teach the Psychic TM to Yang. So glad we didn't have to go through the entire game with just confusion. Fighting types and the poison types have better tremble and fear because Yang is ready for them now. Yang is ready to pretty much pummel anything that they are standing in our way. Just take a minute to soak in this glorious moment of finally having the Poke Coupons to make this all possible. And then we'll be teaching away. Come on, Yang. Yang knows 4 moves already. I wonder what move we're going to get rid of to learn Psychic. Combine, Detect, High Jump Kick? Nah, it's going to be Confusion, of course. And with that, we can finally go back to the Realgam Tower. Hurrah! Before we move onwards with this though, let me show off the rest of my team. Because of course to get those Poke Coupons I had to do a bit of training in Mount Battle, so a lot of the parties come a long way. Most of them are in the high 40s, very close to level 50. Boy does it feel good to have Psychic. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed sped up Pokemon battles because there's going to be plenty of those in this episode. In fact, I believe that's all we're going to be doing. There is one that might be of importance, but I will point out him or her when the time comes. Welcome to the just completed Realgam Tower. Well, how about a battle to celebrate the opening? One of many battles we'll be having here today. With the Hunter L9, ready to battle. At least she's going to be sending out 2 Steel types. That's going to work out very well to my advantage. Because I got Sahara out here, Puffluck is out here as well. So we can just Earthquake spam. Hurrah! For the heck of it, why not just put one of them to sleep? I know it's definitely not a problem. It'd probably be better to put the one that wasn't quite weak to ground type moves. But hey, they're both going to go down this turn, so I am not too worried at all. Sure, maybe the critical hit was the only deciding factor in the Mega King not being able to take the hit, but they both go down, all's well that ends well. And that's the battle, right? Nope, I believe she has the Mawa. And since this is not the 6th generation, we don't have to worry about the Fairy type. Although I don't think Fairy resists ground, so it's still going to go down to the Earthquake. So Puffluck's just going to sit here and pretend to be useful to the team. The biggest use Puffluck has is just standing there anyways, not getting hurt by the earthquakes and that. With that, first battle of many down. Did you really expect to win, Madam? I am disappointed in you for getting your hopes up. You're only going up against the guy who took down 4 Cyber Admins. Twice. Wow! Sure, let's go with that. The NPCs and the fact they have nothing better to do with their lives. If you ever feel down about yourself, just remember, this guy was standing behind a door for who knows how long, just to jump up from behind it and scare someone. Yeah, I know plenty of people who have been more fulfilled with their life than that guy. While we could bring Yang here to do high jump kicks to everything, I preferred to go for Earthquake because we could just Earthquake spam over and over and over and over until everything goes down. And there is no consequence to it whatsoever. The team might be looking a little over level at this point, but just remember, we still have at least one final battle to go. And I promise you that unless my team grows a lot from all these battles, we are not going to be over level 4 those fights. Fight. So if Puffluck would do the honors of ending off this fight so we can move on to another one, then I'd be pretty glad. And Puffluck does not have to sleep out in the doghouse tonight either. Ta-da! We have achieved victory. And it turns out Mr. Gervin here was the one to get the shock despite initiating the spook. How hard is it to just wait and wait and wait without moving? I would imagine it, but I got better things to do with my life. Are you even gonna say it's different? No. I guess I do have better things to do with my life. But let's swap things up a little. I mean, Sahara here is still gonna put in some work, but I think we can try out using Earthquake in a different way. Now, if I would have realized that this room was absolutely pointless, I probably wouldn't even bother talking to that lady over there. For some reason, I thought this would be an area with a healing center, but alas, there's no healing center over here. So if you are getting weak, you do have to backtrack all the way to earlier on in the Realgam Tower where there was a healing machine in that. Now, the first two Pokemon she sends out is going to leave for a very good opportunity to just Earthquake spam. So instead of doing the Earthquake Flying type combo, I'm going to use the Earthquake Detect combo for this fight pretty much. So, moving onwards from that subject, with approaching the end of Pokemon Colosseum, and the fact I've done Pokemon XD before, I suppose I could give my insights of the two. I suppose it goes without saying that if I had to pick between XD or Colosseum, I would go for XD any day of the week. I will admit there were some things that Colosseum did that didn't really transfer over to XD. I guess there's things that I usually can get away with bypassing though, for the sole reason that so many Pokemon games do it that you pretty much expect it going into the series. Things like the older protagonists, I appreciate a lot more now that I'm older than when I first played XD and Colosseum. You don't really get too many older protagonists in the Pokemon series, but then again, the Pokemon series has always been for the younger audience. That's kind of how the original Pokemon players got into it in the Red and Blue days, because they were kids back then. But I still stand by the fact that the games have a bit of depth to them that older gamers can appreciate. Collection and being able to customize your party as you please compared to other RPGs, and all the different type elements that are stronger of one over another. All that alone adds up for a RPG experience that I don't really experience from other games. I'll admit that my experiences with RPGs isn't as vast as other people. Even from the games I've played in the RPG genre, I haven't really seen too many that actually fit within the elements of Pokemon. The only one I can really think of off the top of my head that comes close is one of those Dragon Quest games where you actually capture the monsters. But I haven't even played that one, and I feel like those games are few and far between. I guess what I'm trying to say is that Pokemon is such a unique RPG that I even classify it as its own genre. If a game does a formula similar to Pokemon, it's like in the Pokemon genre instead of in the RPG genre in my eyes. But how did we get into this tangent again? Oh yeah, Pokemon Colosseum compared to Pokemon XD. I don't know, I mean, I liked this game a lot more when I was a kid, ironically enough. Probably because when I was a child, I forgave a lot of flaws in games a lot more than I do now. And there's quite a few flaws with Pokemon Colosseum that I would have overlooked playing it the first time. The AI being a big one that I constantly address over and over and over again. Other things I don't talk nearly much about though include Colosseum's Shadow Pokemon mechanics. I mean, like the Purified Chamber that comes into play in Pokemon XD really makes purifying Pokemon a lot easier, especially considering that Colosseum has a reward for purifying all the Shadow Pokemon. And it's a pretty slow process to only be able to purify Pokemon that are in your party overall. Plus, I like how the fighting mechanics are in Pokemon XD when it comes to Shadow Pokemon a lot more. Some people might not like the idea of Shadow moves being super effective against all other Pokemon, but it's one thing I actually do like about it. The fact Shadow Pokemon resist Shadow moves actually gives you a reason to not purify a Shadow Pokemon right away. It actually tried to make the use out of the moveset that it has before you purify it to obtain your levels and so. In a sense, it actually encourages you to keep using new Pokemon, if only so you have that Shadow resistance. Plus, I really like how there's different Shadow moves in XD, and I don't like Shadow Rush of Colosseum. Even though the Hyper mode works better with Colosseum, because Shadow Rush having an increased rate of getting a critical hit, while in XD it only harms you and you don't really get a benefit to the reverse mode. While I got a lot more to talk about with XD and Colosseum, I do want to interrupt what I'm talking about, because we do get the most important thing in this entire video coming up. Welcome! It's been a while, hasn't it? It's been me. We met a while ago in Parnax City. Oh yeah, you're Mr. Rosso. You're the guy who I have my cool album from. Thanks for Code Red, by the way. Why don't I return the favor by showing you the full potential of the Pokemon I snagged away from you? Sounds good? Good. Alrighty then, how about we get some action in here, Code Red? Now, it's been a while since we last fought this guy, so I will point out that he is using the same Pokemon he used when he first fought us. It's just that they're much higher level and they're fully evolved at this point. It's worth knowing that if you fought against the blue guy or the green guy instead, that guy will be the one to fight you in this battle instead of Rosso. And from any of those three, if you for some reason failed to snag the Shadow Pokemon, this is your second chance to do so. If you didn't snag Bayleaf, Kualava, or Crokinole the first time you fought against the colored man you fought, then they will have that Pokemon and you can snag it again. However, it will be harder to snag it now than if you took the time to snag it earlier on in the game, because the Shadow Pokemon do not grow. They will still be at the same level as when you first encountered them, until they've been purified, and the evil Cyber minions are not going to be purifying their Shadow Pokemon. Bringing that up again, just in case I forgot to say anything when we were fighting the Cyber admins about the fact that the Shadow Pokemon will not be of higher level. Because I don't recall if I mentioned that you can snag the Shadow Pokemon from Cyber admins that you missed. It'd be kinda silly if I didn't, but covering my back here by bringing that up now. Maybe it's just all the slot machines, but I do like this environment for battling. It's a shame that we don't have the options in the Colosseum mode to really pick out a certain area from the story mode to actually battle in. Because I did mention the battle mode before, and besides the Colosseum battles where you get the Pokecoupons, there's also a way to just do a link battle with friends, the GBA cables. Although you don't really get much choice in where you battle. You might be able to pick which stadium. It's been a long time since I've done it. I don't recall you getting much of any choice in where you battle. With all of that though, I believe that's the end of the battle. If I was doing a better job with the recording, I would have saved this guy for last. Especially considering I was on a tangent there about Pokemon Colosseum compared to Pokemon XD. And it's going to be a bit more difficult to get back on that topic than if I didn't leave it in the first place. Another thing that I think I like about XD more Colosseum is just that there's more Pokemon to snag. Gives you a bit more diversity with your team. As for the wild Pokemon they introduce, I'm just kind of neutral about it. I don't mind that it's there, but I'd much rather use Shadow Pokemon to get along with the team, because they come with a lot better moveset than if they're from the wild. Although, like I did in my Pokemon XD playthrough, if there's one Pokemon that I really want to use that's only a wild Pokemon, then I would go out my way to get it. But otherwise, I am pretty satisfied with the amount of Pokemon I can snag in that game. Colosseum's alright too though in that department. The fact that you're limited, you could argue, also means that you have to think more about what Pokemon you have, and you have to use... And you'd be more likely to use Pokemon that you normally wouldn't use, due to the lack of just being able to pick your favorites from every other game. I suppose you could argue that Pokemon Colosseum has a more interesting story, because it steers further away from the generic child hero beset evil organization compared to Pokemon XD, which pretty much does that. And the fact that you're kind of playing as an anti-hero when in XD you kind of established as a hero. Even though the environment's a lot more gritty, even though there's not as many lighthearted places in Colosseum as there is in XD, you are still stealing away Pokemon from people. Even if the protagonist in Colosseum is a lot more of an anti-hero than the protagonist of XD. I guess I just don't mind that there's a lot more lightheartedness. And to me personally, Pokemon XD's biggest flaw is that it seems more of a Colosseum 1.5 than a full-fledged sequel. Then again, Colosseum in the first place isn't drastically changing the Pokemon formula. It basically has one big difference, and that's dealing away the Pokemon and the whole Shadow Pokemon concept. If you look, besides that, it's pretty much like a normal Pokemon game, except for all double battles. So they're all mechanics that are within the Pokemon form, it's just that normal Pokemon games tend to not explore them that often. And the few things that it does change is enough to make it feel like a fresh new experience. If you're trying to learn how to make a sequel, I would definitely recommend looking at these games. To me, in a gameplay sense, it's the perfect blend between concepts that have been done, that fans love about the series, to introducing new elements to keep it from just being the same game re-released. I'll admit that Pokemon XD kind of feels like the Colosseum as one generation game is to the next generation game, but I appreciate all the changes that they made to make the series better, that I just like Pokemon XD more, and I don't mind Colosseum not existing now that Pokemon XD is there. I think it's still possible that I'll play Pokemon XD a couple more times in my lifetime, which is interesting because I don't think I've really played a game as often as I have Pokemon XD. Colosseum, just between the practice run and this playthrough, I don't really see any reason to come back to it. It's not necessarily because it's a bad game, it's because I have so much more interest in Pokemon XD. Talking to this guy kind of justifies all of these battles on top of Rosal. He is just another NPC, battle-wise he's insignificant, but I like the fact that he actually acknowledges that the protagonist is a former member of Team Snag'em. Haven't seen an NPC really do that since the very beginning of the game when the Team Snag'em members were trying to get the Snag Machine back. Granted, half of the trainers we fought didn't know that, but I mean, like when we were fighting Cyper and fighting the Cyper admins, I don't believe anyone else took the time to note that Wes here is the next member of Team Snag'em. On one hand, I do get you don't want to, like, beat this one fact in throughout the entire game, but on the other, I know, like, it was so long, it's possible to forget if it wasn't such a big detail, I suppose. But still, I'm surprised they didn't try to work that into some creative writing with the other villains that we fought in the game. I don't know why. Maybe like if we fought more of Team Snag'em throughout the game. After all, they were interested in getting that Snag Machine back. Yet, pretty much after we beat them the first time in Paniac, we haven't really seen them for the entire game. Now that I think about it, it would make for an interesting element if like Team Snag'em was fighting against us as we were trying to fight against Cyper. Like we'd have to fight against two different organizations instead of just one. And I believe it could be pulled off a lot more interesting than it was in Pokemon Emerald. Although I do gotta admit, when I think about it, Pokemon Emerald does have an interesting take of it. I think Colosseum could do something even more interesting with like Team Snag'em constantly trying to get the Snag Machine back, all while we're trying to snag all the Shadow Pokemon away from Cyper. Just some food for thought. If you were wondering about it, now you have it. Oh, thanks. Since you were so kind to compliment me, yeah, you were alright. You were not the worst person I ever battled. You actually had decent AI. Shh, it's me, Silva. Wait, Silva, what the heck are you doing here? Shh. I snuck here under disguise. I surprised you, huh? I'll admit you did. I didn't think you had the possibility of actually pulling off the spy thing. Especially considering what happened in the Under. I like kind of thought that you would be a constant fail and I would have to constantly be helping you out of your situations. But you're actually returning the favor and I can appreciate that. I think we'll explore the upper floors and try to find the Cyper organization head and stop the evil organization, possibly snag the ultimate Shadow Pokemon. All that I believe we'll worry about in the next episode. So this has been Jackie K, and I'll see you all later.